Turns out the Washington Post was right all along. Democracy does die in darkness, and things are getting dark fast. Because over there at the Washington Post, they had a cartoonist, a Pulitzer Prize-winning cartoonist, who has now resigned, doesn't work there anymore, after her political cartoon was rejected. Now, it was rejected not for not being witty enough as a political cartoon or having bad art or whatever. It's just the target of it. See, because Jeff Bezos was one of the subjects being attacked by this cartoon. Now you can take a look at it, and all it is there's this massive golden calf of Donald Trump, and all these different billionaires and Mickey Mouse are just trying to kiss its feet. They're willingly giving up money and giving up power and all of that. It's, I think, not only a clear criticism of these people, but it's an accurate one. Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos have literally handed over millions of dollars to a man who doesn't need a single cent from anyone. He's a literal billionaire himself. They did it to bow down. It is a symbolic act of surrender and submission to Donald Trump. And it's the sort of thing that a responsible, I think, political newspaper would mock, whether it's, they're doing it to Donald Trump or if they were doing it to Joe Biden. That's, if political cartoons are for anything, it's to mock this sort of thing. But it was rejected. Okay, they didn't want to run it. And now that cartoonist, Telnaes, posted on Substack about this after the resignation, said, "I have had editorial feedback and productive conversations and some differences about cartoons I have submitted for publication. But in all that time, I've never had a cartoon killed because of who or what I chose to aim my pen at. Until now. But I will not stop holding truth to power through my cartooning because, as they say, democracy dies in darkness." Now here is the editorial page editor for the Washington Post defending rejecting that cartoon, saying, "I respect Anne and all she's given to the Post, but I must disagree with her interpretation of events. Not every editorial judgment is a reflection of a malign force. My decision was guided by the fact that we had just published a column on the same topic as the cartoon and had already scheduled another column, this one a satire, for publication. The only bias was against repetition." Okay, yeah, no, that's story. But the idea that like the Washington Post wouldn't do 3 things about the same thing over the course of multiple editions seems absurd. In particular, that this is an award-winning cartoonist. I think, if you're going to be regularly syndicating her work, defer to her judgment on what she should be covering. And again, especially in the case of the Washington Post, if this was the Washington Post or the LA Times, with them pulling the endorsements, we already know that there's been meddling. You don't get to say, oh, it's like conspiracy theorizing or it's conjuring a malign force to imagine that we would meddle and clean up our content so as to not like cause a billionaire to have an issue with it. No, that is the immediate pass for you. You've already been doing that. The onus is on you to demonstrate that you can actually continue to speak truth to power, and you are moving very much in the wrong direction. Now, you'd mentioned, Jackson, this story a little bit earlier on the show, so I'm dying to hear what you have to think about it, or what you have to say about it.
Well, I mean, they're just demonstrating more and more that none of these issues really impact them. Like what difference does it make if Social Security or Medicare gets gutted? They gonna get the money. They know they're gonna get another tax cut at the end of the day. That's what they're in it for. I mean, and two, it's like this cartoon that wasn't allowed to be published. It's not like it was like ragingly disrespectful. It was mildly suggestive. Like it was totally appropriate. It was just fine. And Jeff Bezos, even before he did something before where he didn't let during the election, he didn't let some editorial get published just in case. Mika and Joe Brzezinski, as soon as Trump won the election, let's go to Mar-a-Lago and change our tune. The things that will directly affect pretty much everyone who isn't a multi-millionaire or greater, they're just not going to be touched by any of this. And what good is our media now? I mean, it's no wonder the people are unsubscribing. During the election, my dad unsubscribed from the Washington Post. People are unsubscribing from these places. People aren't tuning in. I mean, that's kind of like, technology's changing, and that always happens anyway within industries. But I think people are very well aware. I mean, Kamala only lost by 1.4 percentage points. Like this was a very close election, even though Donald Trump won the swing states and all of that. It's not true that he doesn't have a mandate. most people in this country, I think, well, if you include the third party votes, more people voted against Trump than for Trump. He's very unpopular. What's his popularity? His approval ratings like 42% right now. It's not gonna go higher than that. So let's see what these people look like in a year or two when Donald Trump inevitably gets us into a war with Iran and all of those things that are almost certainly about to happen. Let's see what song they're singing then, because I'm sure they think this is going to make them more money, but I don't know. I don't know, because this is going to be bad. Donald Trump don't care about being president. He was only running to stay out of prison, and now he made it.
The only thing I would say about the money is I think assuming that Jeff Bezos is getting involved or whatever, or is directing other people to get involved, this might not help out the Washington Post, but the Washington Post is such a small percentage of his total business ventures that if it helps him reduce regulation on Amazon, like it could be worth 100 times its weight in gold or whatever. Yeah. But to your overall point, let me just say, thank you, Jackson. Everyone seems to have surrendered to this false narrative that Donald Trump won some sort of commanding massive victory. It was super close. He literally didn't get the majority of votes, as you pointed out. If Kamala Harris had gotten 250,000 more votes across the blue wall states, it would have gone the opposite direction, at least in the Electoral College. Now, he did win, and he did improve over his previous showings, which is both a sign that he's more popular. It's also a reminder of how unpopular he was the last 2 times around. It was not a massive lead. Thank you for acknowledging it. We should normalize being honest and accurate about that election. Members make a difference here at TYT. You help make the show happen, and we see you in the chat with your loyalty badge. Click the join button to become a member today.